Hey, super shits, long time no see. Doesn't feel like a day over, 4 months. I finally graduated the torturous hell known as A levels. Oh, vey, 1.5 years of my life. What was I thinking? And goodness me, would you look at the time, the Fnaf movie came out. It's been 7 years since the Fnaf movie was announced, and frankly, I forgot all about it. I'm joking. I tricked you. I didn't forget. I actually knew the movie's exact release date the whole dang time. Now, FNAF isn't nearly as popular here as it is overseas, so to avoid getting bullied, I would have to be inconspicuous. There I was, day of the FNAF movie. CGV really needs to get its act together because I had no FNAF cutouts to pose with. Maybe they saw the... Let's not advertise this one. Spoilers for the FNAF movie either way. Come back later if you haven't watched it yet, because your priorities clearly aren't in order. Now, I actually came in a little late, but my disappointment lasted only a moment as I looked up in realization that, holy shit, it was actually happening. And opening credits lovingly recreated in Scott Cawthon's shitty pixel art style. I honestly was a little speechless for a moment. We open in on Mike, a struggling brother just trying to raise his sister, every paycheck he makes primarily going to giving her a childhood. To add to that, every night he does a little ritual and is visited by nightmares of his younger brother Garrett being kidnapped. Unfortunately, due to a misunderstanding at work, Mike does the FNAF 2 jump scare and gets laid off. However, a shady job offer comes his way courtesy of his career counselor, Steve Raglan. Despite initially refusing, after his aunt starts putting pressure on Michael of an impending custody transfer case, he accepts the role of night watchman at a little place called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'll talk about the main attractions first. After so many years of the only set picture being this and this, I thought we were in for some truly terrible suits. But no, we get not only beautiful recreations of the original 5, I kinda like some of them better. Little details like the duct tape on the back of Foxy's head, straps for Bonnie's guitar, little stitches on Bonnie and Chica's face so the kid used to be the withered animatronics, goddamn cupcake! 10 out of 10, I would not change a thing. Maybe make them squint less when they're in spooky mode, but that's just me. That and Golden Freddy isn't yellow enough. The average audience member can't even tell the difference, man. Like, I know he's an Easter egg, and I personally like that, but he should have just been a decommissioned Springlock we saw earlier that we just glossed over. Shamrock Freddy's cameo, though? Fucking masterpiece. Their personalities are also subtly distinct, like Bonnie thinking something's up with the vent, and Freddy not caring enough to stop the singing when he's warned. By the time Freddy actually thinks something's afoot, Bonnie's looked away in embarrassment since there's nobody actually there. Subtle wordless interactions. Hell yeah! I wish Chica ate garbage at least once though. Luke Skywalker is killing it as this unassuming but eerie little child, and I can't wait for him to bend hell to his will in the 3rd movie. As for the Animatronics' Portrayal and how people claim it's too inconsistent, personally, I don't understand that. See, people say that the tonal whiplash or tonal fake out is a detriment, but I thought it was a pretty creative idea. It's only when the killer is present that he influences the eviler aspects of the animatronics. That's cool, and that's not in the games. That's the whole point, that at their core, they're just kids inhabiting death machines, yes, but kids nonetheless. So for these brief moments of their true natures, I was really glad they were included. If Scott wanted to focus on the first 3 games, I'd assume he wanted to adapt their tone too, and the initial story of the series was that it was a product of senseless, violent tragedy. So seeing this in retrospect isn't just goofy, it's fucking sad. That's a kid who never got to grow up, never saw their parents again, and has been stuck in a cupcake half the time for the past 20 years. Soul aside, call me purple guy, because I'm gonna put a kid in that robot. First fucking scene of them moving, and Chica winks. Some dude in the front row goes, "Ah, I'd hit," and is immediately met with many shouts. Some in agreement, some in disgust. All I'm saying is the naysayers should be singing a completely different tune once FNAF 2 comes out.
It's only now that I understand the depth of the depravity.
Dude, Sparky's cameo was so awesome. Wait, Sparky's in the movie? What the fuck? I will be hopping back and forth between plot points I want to talk about. So, back with Aunt Jane, turns out Abby's babysitter was a spy, and they're plotting on how to get Mike's custody stripped from him, and her brother pipes up with, "Oh my fucking god, Matthew, Music Man, Matthew." My whole theater was dying laughing. I didn't even hear half of what he said. You know that psychological effect when someone calls your name in a crowd? That, but with the phrase, "just a theory." We're also introduced to Doug, second only to Balloon Boy for characters I want to see in the sequel. Speaking of the boy, his jump scare was the only one that got me. Ironic, because he was the only one without a jump scare in the games, and now he's the only one with one. Now, what about Michael Schmidt himself? We've never really got any idea of his personality other than, "Father, I did it." So how does Joshy Boy do? Surprisingly, really well. He's a very believable character, and if this is still meant to be Michael Afton from the original series, then it aligns quite well with my interpretation of the character. Kind of an asshole, soft spot for a sibling, doesn't always do the right thing, pulls through in the end. Kind of gray. Get it? Because that's the shirt he wears in FNAF 4. I'm not exactly one for fish out of water narratives, but this is only the first movie, and although the character is written to seem tired all the time, trust me, he puts his whole Hutcher sissy in his performance. His relationship with Abby is very sweet, and honestly reminds you of my younger sister and I's own relationship. Piper's performance is really impressive, and sells us on the adorable Abby from the moment she's introduced. Her deadpan delivery, the joy she gets from playing with Freddy FNAF, you just can't hate it. I think the foreshadowing with the power drawings can have over children was quite clever, and the way it comes back in the finale. And well, if it isn't white woman jump scare. Did they just use the game model? I'm not kidding. She looks exactly like her. Was she picked based on the model, or was the model based on the casting? Either way, we don't know anything. Maybe Scott just like saw her on set and was like, "I like this. I like this Vanessa character. Let's put her in Security Breach." This movie was in production for 7 years. We don't know shit. Anything can be true. Vanessa herself is alright, and the plot twists about her heritage don't come out of nowhere. After saving Mike from Foxy and confronting her on how the hell she knows so much, she finally gives in. Turns out, the animatronics wanted to keep Abby coming back because they wanted to make her like them, as in possessing a robot. And that golden fucking Freddy killed Aunt Jane, deserved, and kidnapped Abby from the house. Back with Vanny, I was scared she was gonna say some dumb shit like remnant or something.
Walks through memory as if experiencing for the first time anew. No longer a passenger, but an active participant.
But instead, I get such a good shiver of dread when she name drops the man who took Garrett, who stole so many lives, William Afton. And a second blindside I didn't even see coming, that she's his daughter. People really think her not telling Mike about William's identity is a plot hole. FNAF fans, when people with abusive parents don't immediately open up about said abusive parents. Not just a shitty parent, quite literally, one of the worst people in fiction. The way monsters give their children their twisted forms of love and gaslight them into thinking it's typical care can take years to break out of, and Vanessa here has clearly tried to do just that for so long, but it's incredibly hard to do so. You know what? Good job, white woman. You're a good character. Which is more than I can say for Security Breach. Another part I want to talk about is around the 5th halfway point. Around this time, Mike discovers the animatronics have a connection to Garrett and selfishly brings Abby back the next night in an attempt to get them placated enough to ask more questions. But he conveniently forgets to do that because Vanessa comes by again, they decide to make a fort, and the greatest scene ever happens.
Are you okay?
Abby gets blown up. Vanessa warns Mike not to bring her back. This scene was apparently so extreme, Abby needed 3 stunt doubles to pull it off. Realizing the danger he put Abby through, Mike loses his confidence as a parent so much to the point of considering handing custody to Aunt Jane. And Abby obviously doesn't take this well. As the eldest of 5 siblings, this is my nightmare. Going back for his shift that night for one last attempt at finding his brother's killer, he's instead presented something unexpected. The children offering Mike the chance to relive a happy memory of his family forever in exchange for them taking Abby. In his weakened mental state, he accepts their offer. But he immediately rescinds it, remembering that not only is Mike Abby's whole world, she's his too. Now here's where the chips all come together. The animatronics have mostly been disabled, Foxy is still active and stalking after Abby. Mike just got the cupcake off of him and bursts into the main room calling out for Abby, and then... the first physical appearance of Spring Bonnie ever, the otherworldly cackle, the way he stalks towards Mike, just how damn good the suit looks. This shit means something to me, man. Like, is the suit augmenting him, or is he just that strong? Like, this fucker is pushing 60 and he's just ragdolling Mike. Happening about 20 feet away, Abby is a colossal dumbass and hid in the ball pit. Foxy almost gets her, but luckily Vanessa shows up to save her. She explains how the drawings have messed with the ghost's memories and that they need to remember what the yellow rabbit actually did. And,
William? What a surprise!
Getting chewed out by William, he tries to stop him and gets stabbed. This is the closest Vanny will ever get to a knife in canon. Right before he can move on to Mike though, Abby depicts William as the soy jack and in general opinion immediately turns against him. And oh my god, I haven't mentioned it yet, but the sound design in this movie is on point. None more evident than in the Springlocks scene. The bones crunching, the harsh tear of the locks into his flesh, the subtle ringing. It got the theater dead quiet, genuinely chilling shit. And look, it's the Silver Eyes reference. Fun fact, this whole scene was unscripted and those are Matthew Lillard's real grunts and moans. They plan to leave him there until Fnaf Movie 3 comes out. Turns out, Vanessa survived. See, now here, this would be a sick reveal for Markiplier's cameo. He'd barge in and say, I'm Dr.
Eplier. I'm sorry. You're dying.
Did you know he was going to be the night guard in the first scene? I'm not gonna lie, I'd be so taken out, and I'm kinda glad it didn't pan out in the end. Blah blah blah, William survived the failure, movie's coming to a close, and... I think this might be the best day of my life. We even get a tasteful post-credit teaser with the Puppets theme. Some issues now. There really isn't much resolution for Garrett. We don't even know why William drove all the way to Nebraska just to kidnap him specifically. See, my current theory is that Mike's dad is actually his stepdad, Mr. Schmidt. Mike's mom divorced William, obviously, because he's you know, he's a and then, as, you know, crazy psycho mass murderer that he is, decides to drive all the way to Nebraska to kidnap his youngest for himself because, you know, ego stuff, pride stuff, that William Afton goodness. Or that Mike and Garrett's dad was actually Henry, and that's William's reason. You know what? Garrett, Charlotte, close enough. Honestly, it didn't matter how it turned out because I'm really just happy for what it represents. That 7 years ago I came across Foxy X Mango ship art and Scott was like, this is the first day of the rest of your life. I think it was smart to use Ella instead. They can save Baby for future movies while using a similar enough character so people recognize the reference. Why would they make a Springlock suit the size of a child though, where William and Henry hiring fucking Oompa Loompas? Like there's a murder suit that only a kindergartner could wear and the only thing the investors said were,
there are just certain design choices that we don't fully understand.
Speaking of Henry, is this meant to be him? Sure doesn't look like Matthew Lillard to me, and since this movie already seems to be taking a lot from the novel trilogy, maybe they'll make it so Henry alone was the one that made the animatronics, with William only making Baby in the fun times. I assume by the time this VHS clip was filmed, William had already been ousted from the company by Henry and didn't want anything to do with on account of the... William isn't allowed in there after all. Another tangent is the format of this movie and how people say it should be more like the gameplay All I'm saying is, that would be the most boring movie ever. I'm sorry, but I'm already bored watching Markiplier play FNAF on his own. Having Mike spend a traditional FNAF at Freddy's would make the animatronics even less scary than they already are, if you can outmaneuver them at all. Remember, in this movie, if they're out to get you, there's no stopping them unless you disable them, and you have to get uncomfortably close to do that. Vanessa only knows this after spending literal years hanging around them. That, and you know, we've gotten that before, and the only time it was remotely enjoyable was when 5 grown men did a musical with it. Believe me, the appeal of FNAF isn't the gameplay, no, definitely fucking not. It's the story, which is a nicely condensed version of it in this movie. What would be even worse, though, is making it like Fnaf VHS. 120 fucking minutes of IRL footage with a shitty VHS green screen filter over it, with the only scare being 3 jump scares sporadically. This is how we'll save the FNAF movie. Save yourself from hell first, you piece of shit. FNAF VHS was a fun trend last year, and I'm glad it happened. I just don't feel it works as a feature-length film. And now I shall account some random experiences related to the movie. One more was when I was on a BRT going back when I passed by a girl and her friend sitting opposite. She looked up and exclaimed, "Oh my god, William Afton," to their confusion. It was like, "Oh, do you know FNAF? No? Oh, okay. So it's like a game, right? And there's a movie right now." She proceeded to explain the premise to her vapidly disinterested friends, while me and my assistant were trying not to die laughing. All this to wonder, why was I treated this way? As like they know I watched the movie somehow. And well, that was the FNAF movie. I won't pretend it's anything groundbreaking, but I enjoyed it immensely. 7 out of 10. I've only watched it thrice as of this recording. Pokemon ROM hack reviews incoming, everybody. Fret not, the warm lap of the tongue that is my content shall soon sate you. Bye-bye now. Skibbity Toilet, Ohio Riz, Toy Chica, The Amazing Digital Circus, Caught in 4K, Family Guy Funny Moments, Venom, Let There Be Carnage by Eminem. Venom. Skibbity Toilet.